So letting go is something that is hard to fully accept when the love is still there. And the reason why I bring all this up is because about a couple weeks ago I watched La La Land. There was a moment in there, and I'll get into it a little bit later because this video is not necessarily about La La Land, but again, it's kind of the tipping point of why I was having these thoughts. But there was a moment in the movie where the two main characters have to let each other go, basically. With the idea of letting go, it's easy to kind of put the blame on yourself and kind of assume that if the relationship ended in any sort of relationship, it doesn't have to be like a romantic relationship. It can be platonic as well. But letting go of anyone in that fashion almost feels like you failed that relationship. And I've kind of grown to realize that when that happens, it's not necessarily because it failed. That's just how life goes. You know, you can't expect to be around or with the same person forever. You know, maybe that's just the cynicism in me. Cause I don't know. I don't believe in like people that are made for you. You craft people. Or I guess that's a bad way of putting it. You have people in your life that you kind of get things out of in certain aspects and stuff, right? And then you get other people to fill in those missing gaps and stuff. You know, you can't expect one person to be everything for you. And it's a hard thing to deal with when you both kind of know that this relationship between the two of you are slowly depleting, and eventually things just stop working out, like plans stop aligning and stuff. And it hurts because it almost feels like it could have worked in a different life. You know, and forgive me if I'm not making sense. I have pinpoints in front of me of kind of what the things I want to hit, but this is all, you can definitely tell it's all just kind of coming out of my head all at once. So if nothing makes sense, just bear with me. But I think that segues into the movie La La Land, where in another life things could have worked out. And I know I was talking about how this could be platonic, this could be a romantic relationship and stuff. And for this example, I'm going to use romantic relationships because that's kind of what the movie was centered around, the relationship between Mia and Sebastian. So for context of people that haven't seen the movie, spoilers, by the way, if you haven't seen the movie, you should. It's great. One of my favorite movies ever. I know that doesn't mean much because you guys don't know me, but still, it's a good movie. I think you guys should check it out. It's a musical, to preface. A lot of people don't fuck with musicals, but I don't know. I think it's like one of the better ones. So for context, there's two characters that we're following, Mia and Sebastian. They both have their own ambition, living in Hollywood. Sebastian wants to open his jazz club, and Mia wants to be an actress. Throughout the movie, we see the two come closer together, and as they're getting closer together, it almost feels like their dreams of pursuing their goals sort of become outlandish. Part of the movie, Sebastian ends up working with one of his old, I don't know if it was like a band, I can't remember exactly, but it was one of his old bandmates. He's John Legend, basically. So he starts working with his buddy John Legend, and they're playing like this fusion of jazz that he doesn't necessarily like, but it's paying the bills, so he's kind of accepting it for what it is. And Mia is just not getting like callbacks and stuff. So they're both kind of sort of down in the dumps, and it all culminates when Sebastian comes back from tour and they're having a dinner date. Mia and Sebastian together having a dinner date, and this is before her one-woman show that she's putting on to try to get more exposure in the film industry and all that stuff. So they argue about Sebastian not liking where he's at currently, and he's at this point almost at the cusp of, I'm not going to do what my plans were initially. So that causes Mia to kind of storm out, because I'm pretty sure, forgive me, it's been a little bit since I've seen the movie. There's a moment where Sebastian says something to Mia, and it kind of just ticks her off, so she leaves. Anyways, so the next day she has her one woman show. It bombs, and Sebastian also doesn't show up because he has work related stuff to deal with and everything. So at that point, the two of them break up after that show because he shows up late, apologizing and everything. They break up. I don't really see it as a breakup, but like also it is kind of a breakup. But she says she's just gonna take a break for a while. She's not gonna pursue her dreams and aspirations of becoming an actress anymore. So she goes back home to Nevada, I'm pretty sure. And I know I'm rambling a lot. Bear with me. it all gets to a point. Like, again, I'm giving you guys the context of what's happening here. Sometime after that breakup, Sebastian gets a call from home because they were living together before, and a casting agency was calling for Mia. They wanted to give her an audition for a specific role that they're gonna craft around whoever they cast. So he drags Mia to this audition. She's worried about it, whatever, and eventually she does the audition. And then we cut to the observatory scene, which was where this whole thing culminates, right? So it culminates to a point where the two of them are talking to each other at the observatory about where they are in the relationship and kind of what the next steps are for the two of them. Sebastian, he's always been very supportive. Same with Mia. They've both been very supportive about what each other, like what they want to do in terms of their own goals and stuff. And Sebastian basically says, like, you're going to get this role, and when you do, you got to give it everything you got. That was the moment where I was like, oh shit, like it's as the older I get, the more I'm career oriented, and it hits a little differently because it's a little too close to home, And again, with breakups like this, there's typically no argument or bad person involved. It's just how the relationship sort of played out, and at that point, the relationship kind of ran its course. So again, that's just kind of where my brain took it for what it was, because I was just like, oh my god, this is too much, right? And the hard thing to accept when it comes to splitting up from someone like that is that it's the right thing to do, because in many aspects, if you were to continue to be with this person, you're holding either yourself back or them back, and if you love someone, like, you wouldn't want to withhold them from what they want to do with their future goals and stuff in mind. So it's a hard thing. Timing is a huge issue, because if things were to play out at a different time in your life, like, would it still happen? Like, would this relationship still not necessarily fail, but would it still end? And I think with that whole thing in mind is just kind of why I thought that ending to the relationship stuck with me. And then before I mentioned too about the idea of what could have been, and a big part of that movie that everyone talks about is the ending. And specifically with this ending, you have a 5-year time jump after this observatory scene. We meet back with Mia. She has become a successful actress. She has a husband, but it's not Sebastian. So clearly the relationship just never mended because she was focusing on her career and vice versa. And while they were out one day, her and her husband, they took a detour. They ended up in this jazz club. Turns out it was Sebastian's jazz club, and Sebastian and Mia had a moment where they kind of just stared at each other. No words were said, and as Sebastian was playing his solo, we have a whole montage of everything that played out in their relationship and what would have happened if they didn't pursue their goals but they stayed together. And again, that's where everyone talks about this movie, and it's a brilliant ending. I think it gets a lot of love and praise, and I think it deserves more love and praise. I don't know, I love it so much. People refer to it as a horror movie, but not in the aspect of like scary, more in the aspect of like oh shit, like this is crazy kind of thing, With all that to say, when it comes to letting go in a relationship, ultimately I think it's always a good thing. One, it's super admirable. I think being able to see something that's wrong in the relationship and try to fix it, and seeing that it won't work, and ending up being the one to be like, hey, this is not going to work, I think we should let each other go, is, like I said, is super admirable. Like, I think not a lot of people have the guts to do something like that. But with endings like that, I mean, there's good and bad. Obviously, when you're with someone for so long, it's hard to let go so soon, or to just accept it for what it is. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of good in that, because you kind of have more time to focus on what you need to do. The other person clearly can see that you need that time. That's always a good thing, along with understanding that even if the relationship didn't work out in the end, that it's always good that it happened in the first place. With my past relationship, I feel like I have a better understanding of myself now post relationship than I did when I first got into it. So I think it's always a good thing to have a better grasp of yourself when stuff like that happens. With all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I rambled a lot. This whole thing was a ramble session, but I wanted to try something out that I've never done before, and talking directly to a camera like this is not my expert field of things to do. So please bear with me as I continue to try to make these make a little more sense. So yeah. Anyways, I'm only doing this because I love watching movies and I love talking about movies, and I love when movies have something to say and also can get you to think a little bit more about what's going on in your life. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any stories you want to share, please leave them a comment down below. And yeah, I will hope I see you guys again soon. Later.